Welcome to the 3 Knockdown Rule. Starring Mario Lopez and Steve Kim. Presented by Hustler Casino.
Hey guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to our show on YouTube. It's fun. It's funny. I break this guy's balls. His wig looks crazy every week, but it's still worth doing it. Check out these badass shows we got right now. Check it out.
Even though Mario's on it, you'll still learn something, and it's still some insightful analysis. And then I bring the funny, and I don't know what he brings.
No.
What are you talking about? I'm the star of the show here.
You bring the grumpy.
Oh, but the grumpy. Anyway, like and subscribe.
Yes,
3
please.
Knockdown
We
Rule.
appreciate you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 Knockdown Rule brought to you by Hustler Casino is in effect. I'm Steve Kim, and I'm joined by Mario Evergreen Lopez, banking an episode while you're at the Olympics.
That's right. Very good. You know what that term means, Kim? Nice. Quick shout out to Smoking Tip Frazier over here.
All right, the bout sheet for this show, we'll be talking exclusively to the man of the hour, trainer extraordinaire, Joe Goossen, who joins us in studio.
Well, listen, if you're one of those people who lost coverage for GLP-1, you really need to hear this because you don't need to go pay $1,000 because LifeRx so much better, and it's only $200 a month flat. That's it. The price stays the same, even if your dose increases. There's no membership fees, none of that stuff. They deliver the meds right to your door every month, all the supplies, and you get 24/7 medical support. So if you've been looking for an affordable GLP-1, we're going to put the link below. Check it out, LifeRx.
And this podcast is sponsored by Hustler Casino, LA's most luxurious casino with the best heart-pounding poker action. Looking for a shot at something huge this new year? Hey, the $100,000 super jackpot is still up for grabs, and every Monday, the qualifying hands decrease, keeping the excitement wide open. Come play at Hustler Casino, where six-figure dreams become a reality. All right, we come back. We speak to Joe Goossen.
Streaming live right on YouTube.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
$1.2 million.
And I'm losing in this fucking game. What the fuck?
There's a 400K flip. If I win by way, you get 10 grand. For my fans.
Wow. All in a call.
I'm not fucking leaving.
Raise it up.
And we're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule. And Mario, it's been too long, but we finally got one of our favorite guys back in studio.
Far too long. A real legend of the sport. One of my favorite guys. Very cool, Mr. Joe Goossen, trainer extraordinaire. Great to see you, buddy. How are you?
Thank you.
Joe, you...
I was waiting for a break there. Thank you, Mario. Thank you, Steve.
Joe, as we are filming this particular episode, you are preparing Mario Barrios in defense of his WBC welterweight title at the T-Mobile Arena on February 21st against Ryan Garcia.
Right.
It's interesting. There's a storyline here, and everyone's talking about it. Mario Barrios against Ryan Garcia. But be honest. A lot of this is about you and Ryan Garcia, is it not?
That's unfortunate. Yeah, of course. I mean, it not by my hand. I didn't, make this happen. I mean, at the press conference yesterday, there was a little action going on with Ryan, and he brought me into the picture and had some things to say about me, and it's caused a little bit of a stir. I mean, I'm usually not part of the show. I don't particularly care to be. I always put the fighters front and center, and I think they deserve to be front and center. I'm just the coach. And so, again, I'm thrust into this situation here where we're actually talking about it today.
Well, you mentioned the press conference, and obviously there's always a lot of shenanigans, and people try to hype stuff up and troll, and Ryan likes to get into all that stuff. But as far as the history, you obviously worked together. Was it 2 fights ago? How many fights ago, Joe? Or
the last fight was Tank. Last fight was Tank Davis.
Correct. The last fight was taken. Okay. So but it seemed to be pretty amicable. And then there was those rumors flying around, which were silly and stuff. Is that what inevitably severed the relationship, or just it's time it's run its course, or like many fighters, sometimes they just want to try something new?
I think it's a combination of what you said. You know, when you lose a fight with a fighter, sometimes the blame comes your way. Sometimes the fighter will take credit for the loss, which doesn't happen too often. But and then, like you said, it's a combination of things. So which one it was and what combination of things happened? We had the split after the Tank fight, and it was amicable. And, you know, Ryan and I spoke after the fight on the phone. And, you know, nobody had any harsh things to say about anything. It was quite boring. You know, I mean, there's no big story there.
And as far as the rumor, because I remember the rumor as far as like a spy, I've always found that fascinating because the reality with boxing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's literally like 8 possible punches you can throw, right? Obviously, the combinations can be different. What exactly could you be spying on, or what could there be as far as even in a hypothetical situation? I've always wondered about, because there's been a lot of fighters that have closed camps and they don't want anything leaked. What exactly could be divulged in that? Is that much ado about nothing?
Yes, absolutely. Now, you might want to keep injuries quiet.
Sure, that I understand. That I understand. Yes.
And that I always go to great lengths to protect the fighter. And,
makes sense. Yep.
You know, my interest as well. You know, by keeping that as quiet as possible. But see, a fighter will usually get injured in sparring, and that is not your fighter normally. The sparring partners you bring in, they're from different, you know, 4 corners of the earth, as they say. They're from different places. So the fact that you could expect them not to talk to other people about what goes on in sparring, you got a rude awakening coming. So that's usually where, you know, if there's an injury or something like that.
That makes sense, sure.
Yeah, it's going to be the guy and their people, because they like to take credit for injuring the top guy.
So you've made this clear. You're not the mole, because that was the whole thing. I remember.
But wait, real quick.
Is that what you were asking?
That
me?
was
but hold on. With all that said, was there an injury I'm not aware of?
Well, that's kind of common knowledge. Yeah. Yes, there's always injuries. I mean,
everybody goes in a little banged up, but I didn't know how serious the
nobody goes into a fight without a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, if you don't, then you didn't train as hard.
Pardon?
I said if you don't go in, then you really didn't train as hard.
You're very fortunate if you can go into a major league fight, bring it in top sparring, and not come out with something nagging you.
A couple of things. I've seen camps where sparring partners have to sign NDAs. Now, whether that's effective or not, I don't know. I think when Manny Pacquiao had some of his bigger fights, I think that was in play. Yeah. Also, I remember during that camp, Joe, at 10 Goose, I've been going there for years. One day, Saturday morning, I go to work out, and the front windows were all taped up. They were covered up because at night you can look into it.
Yeah.
And I go, what is this? And Ricky Funes, his nephew, goes, I guess they're spies. He's just kind of like rolling his eyes. I said, really? And I took a picture of it, so they actually covered up the front windows. Did you ever suspect anyone was out there with a pair of binoculars looking at you and Ryan?
Well, look, you never know. You can't see out, but they can see in at night. Okay, so if you chose to train at night in my gym, the opposite effect of the what's you call it?
One-way window? Is it?
Yeah, basically. You know, so during the daytime you can see out, but it's like if you're standing outside, it's like a mirror.
Right.
So, but it's the opposite effect at night.
Got it.
And but did I ever peek out the door and see a line of paparazzi out there? No. You know, but if somebody requests more privacy, I'll accommodate them, you know?
Speaking of day and night, do you prefer your fighters to train during the day or at night? Do you prefer your fighters to train during the day or the night, or just sort of depends on the schedule? Irrelevant?
A lot of people go, well, look, I'm going to be fighting at night. I kind of want to train towards the evening time, which doesn't, it makes sense. But normally, guys like to get the gym out of the way.
Right.
And then be able to go home.
That's my motto.
Right, exactly, So, and I prefer it as well. I've had, many good wins and a few good champions where we never trained at night. We always trained during the day. And, that's kind of the way I grew up with it. The gyms were closed in the evenings.
Right. Right.
So, but I understand it. I've done it before.
Because I've seen Mayweather at your gym, like
midnight.
10 at night,
Yeah.
midnight, working out there all the time.
Yeah.
And he prefers to train there.
Because he's a late night owl anyway. He probably sleeps in and wakes up later in the afternoon. And then his prime time is later in the evening where everyone else is in bed. Right. And I listen, I worked in some nightclubs back in the day, so I know that time schedule. You're in bed till, noon, 1 o'clock, and then you get up, and then so. But I'm still a late night owl. Tell you the truth, I'm not a big sleeper.
Joe, during that training camp for Tank Davis, there were the reports that Ryan was not showing up. You had to go meet him at his residence. When did you know that camp was going awry?
I didn't think it was going awry, to tell you the truth, Steve. I mean, honestly, Ryan trains hard wherever he is. Is it something that, the typical fighter will do? No. They like the structure of the gym and what have you, but Ryan works hard. You could be at his house and go over, let's say we're in camp or something at his house, he'd be doing sit-ups in his bedroom. You just go in there, oh, damn, he's really ripping off sit-ups, just all on his own. He works. I don't underestimate any guy, and I don't underestimate Ryan. No, he works. He works hard.
You had him in really good shape in that fight, too, and obviously there was the controversial weight cut or the
hydration limit.
The hydration limit in the clause, which really, I think, hampered him and took a toll as far as with the accumulation of punches that you're able to receive, and maybe that body shot wouldn't have hurt us, and he wouldn't have been able to take it a little later. I think we would have saw a different fighter had he been a little bit heavier. But to your thought to your point, he clearly listened to you, and he was in shape going in to that fight. How did you become Mario Barrios' trainer? How did that come about?
Right, and just one thing, before I go on to that, just to address something you talked about. See, a left-hander's strong hand is right there in front of the liver.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a few left-handed world champions, and my first left-hander won it on a body shot, just like that. They're devastating, and it only went about that far. And you just stick it in like a knife, and that was Mike Nunn against Frank Tate, who won the gold medal in '84, and we stopped them when they had their actual fight for the world title. Stopped them with a liver shot, just like that. It's a devastating shot. A lot of guys go, "You hit me on the chin all day, just don't hit me on the liver," because it literally paralyzes you. I know you've been in the ring before, and you've been hit to the body. It
does. It paralyzes your whole body, sort of tingles.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter how many muscles you got either.
Right. That's right. Well, there's very few muscles in front of that rib cage, and that's where it sits, right below the rib cage. Mm-hmm. But that being said, where were we on that one?
Well, about that fight, do you believe Ryan gave himself the best opportunity to win, though?
Well, Ryan and I have briefly talked about that, and what was the actual game plan? What was the actual discussion before we walked out to the fight in terms of what we had been gearing towards the whole camp? I think the first round was indicative of what I had expected and thought would be the best course of action, which was to be patient, use your reach, don't get greedy like, a few guys did. They got greedy and went in for the double, triple dip, and then Tank figures you out and then executes the answer to it. So don't get greedy was a big talking point.
Second round, he turned it up, don't I remember?
See, and that was see. So after the first round, I encouraged Ryan to don't change anything.
Right.
Let's stick to that.
Right.
And because that was a great round, I'm sure he won it on all the cards. And the other thing was win one round at a time. That was another one of our talking points for the game plan. Don't get greedy. Keep use the jab. Keep some distance.
Win one round at a time.
Win one round at a time. And I don't know what happened in the second round. It certainly wasn't per my instruction. And I think that really just changed the course of the fight, and not for the better.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now you are the trainer of Mario Barrios. How did this come to be?
Well, as things happen, you don't expect a lot of things that come your way. You get the phone call, right, for the opportunity, and I got the phone call from Bob Santos out of the blue, and it was an opportunity that why would I turn that down? I mean, I always liked Mario Barrios. When he fought Manny at the end of the show, I just liked how much class he had during the whole Manny Pacquiao build up to the fight, where he really gave respect to Manny that he deserved. I mean, in the ring you can do what you want, but leading up to you don't want to diss a guy, eight division champion,
Right, legend,
just legend. There'll never be anybody like him. And I like the way Mario handled himself in that situation, and I said so on the air at the end of the show. So ironically, I get a call, and so I liked the guy, So it was not, I just liked how he
carried himself.
He handled himself, right, and carried himself. So when Bob Santos, his manager, called me, I said right away, I jumped on it because number one, I liked the kid. I liked how he conducted himself. A classy kid. And he could fight. What he did to Ugas was just brilliant that night. I mean, that was a real destruction of a great fighter.
That was a good win.
So, did he have a couple of draws? Yes. Why? Those are questions that, can be answered. There's always answers for those. Why did you have a draw with Ramos? Why did you have a draw with Manny? Could it have been different? So we've really gelled together, and he's working, and I think Steve knows this. I think you know this. I like a lot of rounds in the gym.
Yeah,
I like to do a lot of rounds. I like to do a lot of different stations, utilize those stations to teach tactical stuff, and so this is what we're doing, because there's certain things that you have to have in your back pocket, whether you need them or not. You got to have a plan A, B, and C. So we work on a lot of different technical things, and that takes rounds. We do minimum 3 hours in the gym, and that's before we get to our exercises in the gym. So we're putting on. We did 30. Look, after the press conference yesterday, that was a 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock call time, and we got out of there at like 6:30. Got back by 7, was in the gym by 7:30, and we got out of there at 11 o'clock last night.
Wow. Joe, when you take on a new fighter or a manager inquires about, hey, Joe, we're interested, do you let them know, look, I run a system, and it's actually difficult. Like, this may not be for you?
It's a great question, but see, Bob Santos had the advantage of knowing that system, because Bob had brought Robert Guerrero to my gym years and years ago. I can't even imagine. Probably been 15 or more.
At least.
Wow. Yeah. And so what Bob's told me, he's goes, look, I've adapted, a lot of the things that you do in the gym, how you approach certain things to different drills and stations, weave, speed bag. I don't use them necessarily the same way everyone else uses them, but some people do. And then, we'll do the cushion, we'll do mitts, we'll do shadow boxing, we'll do the heavy bag, the real heavy bag. We'll do power punching, speed punching on the lighter bag. Just everything you're going to need to have. Whether, like I said, whether you use it or not, at least you've touched on it and worked on it. So we're covering a lot of bases. But lastly, Bob knew the system,
right,
and he knew what Mario was was in store for.
How much do you think?
Just as far as the training, when do you cut off sparring? How far before the fight?
Well, yeah, it's not so much of cutting off sparring for me as starting to
taper.
It started bringing in for a soft, taper, bringing in for a soft landing. You want to hit a peak time where you have enough time, because you have to coincide the sparring with cutting weight.
Right.
See, and so you have to, that's a tricky little thing to
science,
do.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you don't want that landing. You want to bring it in a soft landing. You don't want to get to the end of the runway and just go, straight down and drop 8-10 pounds 2 days before the fight or the day before the fight, which happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I've got a system where I stick to. It's worked for years. And Mario's a big guy now. So
he is a big kid. He's a big kid to make that weight.
Pardon?
He's a big kid to make that weight.
Man, Mike Nunn, my former middleweight champ, walked into the gym the other day. He looked at me and he goes, man, I fought guys, this guy looks like a middleweight to me.
Yeah.
He is. He's big. And he's not thin anywhere. He's like proportioned well. So, but again, to answer your question, I will, depending on the guy, I will spar the same week as the fight.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
But what I'll do is, because it's like this. When do you stop taking batting practice in baseball?
Yeah.
You're going to take batting practice
Every day.
the night of the game.
Sure.
Every
sure.
day.
Okay? You're not going to have Sandy Koufax on it or
Kershaw.
Nolan Ryan.
Yeah.
But as opposed to the hard rounds, more about staying sharp, the rhythm.
You just want to throw the ball around.
Got it. Got it.
In the last week. You want to throw the ball around. You want to take some batting practice. You want to bring in guys that know how to work with a guy who's cutting weight going into a big fight.
I like that.
So you have to have two guys that know what's going on.
Stay sharp.
And they touch and go. Nobody's trying to knock anybody out.
Sure.
You just want to hit some batting practice. To go a week without batting practice, can you imagine getting up and facing a 95-mile-an-hour fastball?
That's a good analogy,
And not taking any swings for a week?
I've heard a lot of old trainers say that we used to spar just 2-3 days before the fight.
That
used to be the normal thing, actually.
You're right, but that seems to be an anomaly now because most guys
That's
I hear
right.
like a week out, almost 2 weeks out.
That's right.
Which is crazy.
Right. That's exactly right. And see, but again, you have to, you have to have the right people involved in
Sure.
that.
You don't want to risk any cuts and all that, sure.
Yeah. So, but you're right. I've had fighters that if you didn't spar them like 2 days before the fight, they'd forget how to fight. I swear it. I go, what? I go, how did you forget to throw a left hook?
Joe,
yeah.
When you are approached with a fighter, now with Mario, you're obviously very familiar. You've called his fights. You did his last one. Do you go through the process of actually looking at his past 5 fights to get an idea of like, what am I working with here?
You mean Mario's?
Yeah, like did you go back to any of his further fights? Did you do any research on him?
I announced quite a few of his fights.
So that was your research.
I pretty much remember how a guy fights.
How much do you think your knowledge of Ryan Garcia played into Bob Santos's decision to dial you up?
I don't even know if I think Ryan may have been in the discussion, but I don't think any of that was settled at all at that particular time. I think Bob's idea was more based on that he just needed, he needed some old school trainer that put in the rounds, that he probably wasn't getting enough of that one-on-one attention, which is what I do with guys. And I'm on you wherever you go, and I'm not harping on you.
Sure.
But I'll quietly go, do this, do that, keep that up there, do that. Just old school. And He's a talented guy, and so it makes it easier. He's been in the big fights, makes it easier, but and he actually is thriving off of the long workouts. He's thriving off it because 2 months goes by very quickly, and then if you don't, when you put in the work and when you didn't.
Sure.
Right.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And like I always say, you don't want to stand behind that curtain getting ready to go out to the arena and go, oh, yeah, I cheated on this. I didn't do that. That's got to be the worst feeling ever,
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And this has been the same approach, whether it's Joel Casamayor, Diego Corrales.
Ruelas brothers, Michael Nunn.
Right. This is the same approach.
Same exact approach.
Love it.
You develop your own style as a fighter, and you develop your own style as a coach. And if your schematic works, mostly, sometimes no matter what you do, you're just gonna run into a better fighter who works just as hard as you.
Sure.
Sure. So yeah, but at the top of the game, everyone's pretty damn good, right?
Right. Yeah. That's why they're there.
It's like I always say, when you think about that Kirk Gibson home run in '88, that ball was off the plate, 2 inches off the ground, and he reached for it and hit it with one hand out of the park.
It was an ugly swing, too.
Right. It was like, you don't have to give these guys big openings. They'll make openings on you, or they'll find openings that 99% of other guys won't be able to capitalize.
Joe, you use this phrase all the time, thread the needle.
Right.
So it really is, you got to win within the margins. Joe, this game, I've seen trainers go up against fighters that they trained years ago, or they started off as amateurs and things happen. Fighters and trainers, it's not forever, the way the relationship goes.
Right.
Are you surprised, and maybe some of this is shtick, are you surprised that Ryan Garcia and his father, big fan of mine, called you a traitor?
Oh, God. Call me what you want. I really don't. It doesn't bother me. I mean, he's going to have to, he can call me what he wants. None of it's true. So,
well, no, of course. I mean, because he's severed the relationship. I thought it was all just sort of trolling and hyping the fight. I didn't even take that sort of serious.
But he's not fighting. How does that sell tickets? Making me the,
Right. Yeah.
Well, Joe Goossen and Ryan
build a storyline.
Right, but that's part of promoting.
Well, that's what I said.
Right.
I thought he was build. That's what I'm saying. I didn't take it serious. I thought he was just trying to build the storyline because he knows.
T-shirts made out.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, you're fighting Mario Barrios, not me. I mean, maybe it's a one-off. I don't know. It doesn't bother me, because when something isn't true. I've never been a traitor to anybody that I've worked for. I just wasn't raised that way. So it doesn't bother me. I mean, people are gonna decide on their own. They weigh what one person says against the other person, what he says or his actions, and that's it. You can't do anything about it, especially in today's age with the computers. Everyone's got an opinion. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure.
So let them have it. I'm not on the internet. I've never been on it. I've never read comments. I've never even looked at one of my fights that I've announced. Never. Yeah. Not one.
That's refreshing.
Yeah, and by the way, when I gave him directions to get to the studio, I said, "What's your email?" Joe Lewis, Steve, just text me. Like, what do you mean? Because I don't do email.
Hey, I like that. That's my kind of guy.
Right. I'm forced to have a phone. Otherwise, I wouldn't even do that. It's so bothersome. You know how much time it takes? I mean, time is precious to me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Especially you've got kids.
Yeah.
I've got your grandkids are going to be coming along one day, and you're basically occupied by that more than anything else. To tell you the truth,
right.
Family, work, and family.
That's right.
So what people have to say about me in that regard, As long as they don't say, like some weird thing, but okay, I'm a trainer.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Joe, you've been in this position before because I remember being at both fights.
What?
You were in Joel Casamayor's corner when he fought Diego Corrales.
But he didn't call me a trainer when I
No,
went
he
to
didn't.
train.
Well, it's different. There was no social media there either. And
I thought that was just called business.
Yeah, business.
Yeah, right.
The business
Right.
of boxing. And then you were in Diego's corner when he evened up the score. What was that like, that whole dynamic?
Just like this doesn't, look, I don't, Casamayor, I trained for 7 years, 6, 7 years. So we had a hell of a relationship. To this day we do. When he sees me and I see him, we definitely are on a great friendly basis. That said, look, if you ever watch the fight with Corrales Casamayor, at the end of the fight when I was with Casamayor. He had beaten Corrales. We took the title. And then one thing led to another. Casamayor was out of my gym. And I ended up training Corrales in the immediate rematch. And took the title back from Casamayor. But that did not make me feel good. I love Joel Casamayor. I was very close with him. And after the fight, we embraced. I felt sorry that I had to take that we took the title from him and I beat him. I beat the guy that, I loved, we spent years together getting all the way to the top. So no, it didn't do my heart any good. I wasn't like, oh, I got revenge on the guy who left me. No. And then of course we had the great run after that with Corrales. We took the 30-pound title back, went up, fought Acelino Freitas, stopped him in 10. He was like 35-0 with 34 knockouts.
Yeah, that was a great fight. I remember that. Yeah.
Stopped him in 10, and then that led to the showdown. With,
the greatest fight I've ever seen.
Greatest fight.
Bottom line, we can talk about that later. Joe, one last thing about Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
Did you study or see any of his fight with Rolly Romero, and what were your thoughts on that performance?
Yeah, look, I had seen Ryan after that. He came out to my gym to use my gym after the Rolly Romero fight. And I told him what Rolly did to kind of mess with him.
Which was what?
Which was what? Just between us.
Yeah, nobody else.
Okay.
Well, I wouldn't be telling him anything I hadn't already told him, but, Rolly did something that occupied his left hand, occupied Ryan's left hand all night long. It was a smart move. I'll let you guys take a look at it and see if you can find it.
Yeah, It seems like you have some insider knowledge there about that. That could come in handy.
No, the insider knowledge were my eyes. I watched the fight.
I have another training question because I'm just curious. When you get a fighter who already has a lot of equity built up, he's a veteran, and he is who he is. Is it more about just the voice in the corner and more psychological and almost like a regenerative sort of way to look at himself and approach the upcoming fight? You're not necessarily trying to change him because he is who he is, but it becomes more mental and a certain voice in the corner. Because you're great in the corner and hearing the stuff. Do you not even try to mess with him too much and just more handle? You become almost more like a psychologist than a trainer. Does that make sense?
You're on to something there, Mario. I mean, all of the above is true. See, the thing is you've got to gain the confidence of the fighter when you're looking at him and talking to him, even in the gym. For instance, sparring today. Okay, I had a 2-minute discussion with Mario about how the sparring went today, as opposed to the other day, and what I need it to look like tomorrow. Okay, and he's got to believe what you're telling him, and he's got to say, "Yeah, that's true." So there's a lot of
that would get me fired up if I have a certain guy that gets me to believe in myself more.
Exactly,
I'd get more fired up, and so yeah.
But see, I can't make you believe in yourself unless I actually believe in you. See,
got it.
Hey guys, are you looking to get involved with the 3 Knockdown Rule and sponsor our show? We have some spots available. Please email us at info@boxbid.io. Once again, that's info@boxbid.io. Boxbid is an online platform that helps professional boxers connect with their fans by providing exclusive Fight Week merchandise, memorabilia, and sponsorships. You can even buy a shout-out on boxbid.io, who handles our sponsorships, and we proudly are working with boxbid.io.
Champions are not born. They're forged. Every challenge is an opportunity. Every setback, a lesson. But this is not just about winning. This is about turning the ordinary into the extraordinary and becoming undisputed. Available now.
And we're back with Joe Goossen, trainer extraordinaire. Joe, real simply.
Yeah.
Castillo Corrales, greatest fight you've ever been involved in?
I think so. Well, I mean, there were for what happened that night and that whole company. Yes, but there were championships that I won with certain people that meant a lot to me.
A little more poignant, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And look, the first championship I ever won was with Michael Nunn in '88. I had been in many championship fights before that. Well, not many, but a few, starting with Randy Shields. Yeah. He fought, he went up against Sugar Ray Leonard.
Tommy Hearns. Everybody.
Well, here's what happened. Actually, in '78, in August of '78, we fought with Wilfredo Benitez. 2 months later, we fought Sugar Ray Leonard. In October of 2 months later, October of '78, and that was Leonard's 21st or 22nd fight. So he was well on his way. It was one of the few that weren't televised. And then 9 or 10 months after that, in July of '79, we fought for the welterweight title against Pepino Cuevas.
Wow, what a lineup!
Yeah, right. And then in March or April of '81. We went up against Tommy Hearns for the title.
Oh my God, that's a murderer's row.
That was Well, then didn't stop there. Then I want to say in '81 or '82, we went up against Milt McCory at Cobo Hall in Detroit, and then finally the last fight with Randy was against Johnny Bumpus, the 140-pound champion. Yeah.
Look at the fights you just rattled off, and then when you just said 2 months later, we'll never see that again.
No way.
That era bygone. Fighters used to fight. Was it the 90s, maybe the last or 2000s when we saw? Well, no, we saw like Oscar and Floyd. They would fight 4 or 5 times.
He fought 5 times.
5 times.
Yeah. De La Hoya in '97. I was at 3 of them. It was Miguel Angel Gonzalez. Then it was Pernell Whitaker, Kamau, Camacho, Wilfredo Rivera.
Right. And Pacquiao was also pretty active, too. Right. But we're talking late 90s, maybe early 2000s. I doubt we'll ever see activity like that again, right? And it seems to be more of, well, not just a disservice for the fans and the sport itself, but the fighters themselves are not making as much money. They're not staying as sharp.
They're not fighting.
They're just not fighting, right?
With Steve and I were talking earlier, Gabriel and Rafael Reles had, I want to say 22 fights their first year.
Damn. That's crazy.
Each.
That's awesome.
Not total. Each.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. Each. That's crazy when you think about it.
Maybe one of them had 24, like one a month.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, two a month. Yeah.
Unbelievable, bro. When you think about that.
Well, one of the changes in the business, there's a lot less club shows, so the opportunities are not there. And also, a lot of these, if you're a blue chip prospect, you can have a manager and they negotiate a minimum. And if that minimum's pretty pricey, that promoter does not have the budget to put you on 10, 12 times. Yeah. It doesn't. In fact, De La Hoya's first year as a pro, in his first 12 months, he fought 10 times. Mm-hmm. Mayweather in his first 12 fought 11. It basically now takes 4-round fighters, really good ones, about 2 years to get. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's not helping the fighter.
It's the only sport that I can think of where you can't compare the athletes of yesteryear today. Like, in other words, the football players of today would essentially demolish a lot of the older football players from, like, just with the size. Basketball players, you would have to say the fighters of yesteryear clearly would seem to be more well-rounded and all-around better fighters for the most part, generally speaking, than today. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Just off of sheer activity.
Yeah.
Just off of sheer activity
look,
and being right.
Yeah. Look, if you had a guy that was 5'8", 147 pounds,
because that size isn't
in
a factor.
1950,
Still a welterweight.
He's still 5'8", 140 pounds. Exactly,
That's
exactly
right.
right. That's what I'm saying. It's not like football today where the linebackers and the guys are like 300, 400 pounds.
Right.
If he's 140, they're going to be 140.
That's
but this
right.
guy's got 50, 60 fights in his and this guy's maybe fought 17 times.
And Mario, here's another issue.
Experience, reigns supreme.
It really does, right?
Yeah.
You don't get better by doing anything less.
That's right.
Right?
Confucius said that. Mario, Joe Goossen taught me something years ago. I don't know if he even remembers telling me this, but I use it all the time. And I do credit you, by the way.
Oh,
He said, Steve, I want to tell you something. I said, what's that? He goes, a lot of guys can fool their way through 10 rounds. A lot of guys can con their way through 12 rounds.
Right.
And I go, right. He goes, Steve, at 15 rounds, you had to learn and you had to be a real fighter.
Yeah.
You cannot So right there, the 15-round fights. Here's another issue.
Unbelievable.
Back when Joe first started, fighters actually had to weigh in the morning of the fight.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, you had to bring your guy in strong. And see, this is the problem with the
Wow.
weigh-ins today before. What they do is these guys aren't fighting at the weights that they would not. See, the amateurs still weigh in the day of the fight. So why isn't it dangerous for them? You know?
Yeah.
you know, to this day. So for me, it was this. Guys will like squeeze down to 140 because they can eat 6 times, weigh it in the day before to the next day, right? And drink and go up 20 pounds. You would never do, if you had to weigh in the day of the fight, you would go up to 47.
Yeah.
You'd go, I'm a welterweight, because that's what you really are. Then the weight discrepancy between the two fighters will be no more than 5-6 pounds. In other words,
Right.
if you weigh in at 47, each of you, that afternoon at noon, which we did, you fought at 7 o'clock at night. You're not going to go up more than 5-6 pounds.
Sure.
Either guy.
Right, exactly.
See, but now you get guys that are really 47-pounders get down to 40, and then they rehydrate. They're 20 pounds heavier than the other guy they're fighting is a legit 40-pounder, and they're weighing at 45, 46. The other guy's weighing at 58. You know,
Sure.
you've seen it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the weigh-in the day of the fight, when they changed that, was one of the worst things ever.
See?
One of the worst things ever.
And
because
dangerous.
Because now you got guys that are, middleweights fighting guys that are 47 welterweights. You know what I'm saying? Before, like I said, you would never eat that much or drink that much to fight 6-7 hours later.
Yeah. Does it even out in the ring, though? Wouldn't they do damage to their body and it takes a toll and they might be weaker, a little more dehydrated? It'll catch up to them later in the rounds, the guys that really killed themselves to make the weight.
No, give me the start of that. What was that?
Does it not even out in the sense that the guys that really killed themselves to make that 140 and they're walking around at 160 or whatever, it'll catch up with them in the ring. They're going to be a little more depleted. They're going to be a little more dehydrated. It'll be...
Listen, look, you exactly. Just because you can eat a lot of food and drink a lot, it doesn't mean that you've actually rehydrated your body or done your body any favor. Okay? Because by really starving yourself for those couple of days before you do the day before weigh-in, you're doing damage there. Instead of just moving up to the weight you belong in.
You're right. And not to deviate too much, like my boys are getting ready to wrestle for the state championship, right? And my little guy's, he's like 77 and a half. And the weight class is 75 and 80. So I said, you're just wrestling 80. I don't even want you to lose. And he goes, but Dad, these kids, some of these dads, which I should name, they're coming down from 85 all the way to 75.
That's right. Yeah.
10 pounds. But we're talking that 10 pounds is a lot of your body weight when you're only weighing.
And how old is your boy?
12.
Yes. See,
and so I said, no. Even the 2 pounds, I don't want him to do it,
you're
right,
damn
Joe?
right.
Okay, good. So
You're
I feel
damn-
better about this.
100%.
Mario, I feel better about this because I'm like, I can't believe
100%.
these dads that are making these kids at that age and that small. 10 pounds is nothing for like our size. But when you're only coming in at like 76, that's a lot.
Mario, I've had more fighters tell me after they retired, go, Steve, I was burnt out on boxing at 23.
Well, that's another thing. I don't want my kids to be born out. You're
And
exactly
I say,
right.
why? He goes, Steve, you don't understand how many birthday parties I missed. You know how many times I had to skip meals. You never had the feeling of saying your father or whoever, a lot of fathers saying, you're eating one leaf of lettuce today. That's your meal.
Yeah,
And
no.
it begins to erode physically, but also psychologically. You begin to hate the sport.
You're right.
I really
You're
believe
right.
that. And
And
here's the other thing, Joe. There was a thing where Ryan said something about, let's go with 8-ounce gloves for this welterweight fight. And you guys were kind of dumbfounded. What is the situation with the glove size?
Well, hello, for the past 190 years, I'm kidding. But for ever since I've ever known, you're 147 pounds and under, it's 8-ounce gloves. 148 and up, it's 10-ounce gloves. Period. End of story.
Okay, because I think Nevada years ago changed it. Have they given you the option so it'll be 8-ounce gloves when you fight?
Well, yeah, there's all sorts of options now. But, look, it may be an option, but it's not one that I've ever seen, taken to heart, or somebody actually saying, yeah, I want to fight in 10-ounce gloves. Maybe they have. But look, for all intents and purposes, if you're fighting for the welterweight title, you're using 8-ounce gloves. The IBF, if you remember way back in the days, they used to use 6-ounces for the 126 pounders and below.
Damn, that's like batting gloves.
With horsehair padding, by the way.
Like I said, they're like gardening gloves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, they're just that was up until the 80s. I think they finally got rid of that. But the little guys use 6 ounces.
Wow.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Crazy. Oh my God, no.
Joe, you talk about satisfying runs, and I thought one of the best jobs you did of training a fighter was a guy that you never actually won a fight officially with. Chris Arreola, later in his career. Henry Ramirez just said, okay, you take him, Joe. And I remember both times, I remember telling you, I said, Joe, I think you did a hell of a job. Forget the result. Because he fought well enough to get more paydays out of it.
Yeah.
Is that satisfying for you, even if you don't get the win?
Yeah, well, the first fight, and he had been out for a while, was against Adam Kovnatsky.
Yeah.
Who I think was the number one guy in the world.
Undefeated at the time.
He was tough. Yeah, I remember that.
And they broke like 6, different
CompuBox records.
Just amazing amount of punches thrown for 2 heavyweights. And Chris bought into it, and we worked hard. And he was a natural fighter. Chris was not a big sparring guy. He did not like to spar a lot. And I understand that. 2 big guys hitting each other in the afternoon,
Yeah.
it's brutal. They're so big,
Right.
and
Takes
it's
a toll.
Yeah, he's like, no, I'm ready to fight you for real, Don't worry about it. I got the so you get him into shape, you get him into a lot of floor shape, and you give him as much sparring as he'll kind of
Need.
Yeah, and it's not a lot because he's a natural born fighter. He'll fight you to the death. So he's got like this gas tank if you train him, that he keeps on ticking. And that's what he did for 12 rounds. Yeah. Was it 12 rounds?
Yeah,
Yeah, 12 rounds against Kovnatsky, and they never stopped throwing punches, but Chris did really well. You could have made a case for him there, but it was Kovnatsky's hometown, and then he went on to fight Andy Ruiz.
Dropped him.
And dropped him in the second, hurt him bad in the third, won our share of rounds, but we lost like by 10 rounds, whatever it was, So, yeah, but they were both tremendous fights, right?
Another question I just thought of because I wanted to ask. You say he was like a natural born fighter. You see some guys, they just look like they're born to fight, right? Like a Chavez, just right. And they're just not. Is there a difference, do you feel, between a really natural born athlete and a natural born fighter? Is there really a difference? And could that athlete, even though he's very athletic, become a very good fighter, but maybe not ever doesn't have the ceiling of the natural born fighter? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I understand completely. The thing is that most of these guys that are great athletes, they're also in the game for a reason. They don't mind the brutality of it. They thrive on kicking ass. Although they're tremendous athletes and they might have a more protective style, they still like to destroy people, and not take any punishment themselves. It's just, guys grow up that way. I mean, what guy really wants to take punishment?
Sure.
Whether you're a good athlete or not. But some guys that have that love for the, brutality of the sport, they may not be the greatest athletes, but they love to fight. Just like the athletic guys love to fight, but they're just a little bit better at it,
More natural.
More natural. But the guys that, don't have the great athleticism, they're still tough guys to deal with. I mean, the greatest example, I'd say maybe Mickey Bay and John Molina that night. Okay? John Molina had none of the skills that Mickey Bay had. Okay? But one thing John Molina had was he had a heart the size of Texas. He had that right hand that could knock you out, although he stopped Mickey Bay with a left hook, which we kind of worked that out in the gym. That's a whole nother story. Because I said, he's going to be looking for the right hand. That's all. I said, let's just work on the left hook. And for like 3 weeks, we bap. It was really, and what happened in the 10th round, John was down there, bap, hit him with the left hook. That's what really started the knockout eventually. But we lost every round in that fight up until the 10th round.
That was a Showbox classic.
I remember that.
I still remember there was like less than 30 seconds, and Leonard Ellerbe almost lost his mind because he was with Mayweather Promotions.
That's right.
Joe, final.
That was an example of celebrating a little too soon. Remember Mickey Bay waving?
Well, Mickey Bay was actually saluting the crowd, and he was counting his money.
Right.
Joe, final question from me. We got to bring you in more often, but we got a busy schedule. What's the bigger what if for you? Not getting to do the second half of Michael Nunn's career, because it never was the same without you, or never finishing the job with a guy that you built from the ground up and he was never the same again, Lance Whitaker.
Oh, yeah.
Goofy, who literally had to go with I, but he literally went goofy.
Well, I would say none, probably. Although I spent 6 years with Lance Whitaker building him. That was a real project. None was, he was Baryshnikov.
A natural.
He was a natural beyond a natural. And he was fearless. He was almost, when he was in training camp shape, he was literally impossible to beat. Al Bernstein said it best. He said, Mike Nunn not only doesn't lose fights, he doesn't lose rounds. He almost never lost. If in 35 fights with me, he was 35-0. But in 35 fights, if he lost 10 rounds, I'd be surprised.
Wow. Michael's second to none.
I remember watching old videos of like the Ray Leonard Tommy Hearns rematch. I just happened to watch it, the pre-fight stuff. Yeah. And they actually devoted a segment to Michael Nunn where they brought him in because they said this is the heir apparent. After Leonard Hearns, Duran, Hagler, he's the guy. So he was being anointed.
Yeah.
And, Joe, that had to be one of the – I think we've talked about this before, but, Joe, I think it was incredibly ironic. You were part of the original TVKO broadcast crew.
Yes.
And you did a fight, I think it was May of 1991, in Davenport, Iowa.
Oh, boy.
And Michael Nunn fought James Lights Out Tony.
Yeah.
Now – he got off to a good start, but James Toney is a hell of a fighter himself.
Talk about a natural fighter. That's
right.
Another guy
that's another guy born to fight. He wasn't taught to fight. Could you see it like in the 9th, 10th round? Could you see like, there's something going on here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, see, the thing is Mike had recently departed my
system.
And I would take Nunn out of the valley here and take him up to the mountains.
Oh.
Not just Big Bear. This is before Big Bear. This is Terry Norris's training camp.
Oh, yeah.
Up in Campo.
Campo, yeah.
Campo,
Good call. So I would take him into a little town called Pine Valley. It was one street, 2 motels, and a grocery store. And it was the perfect place to, confine a fight or two, right? And then we'd work at Terry Norris's camp, training camp up there. And so Nunn would come off that mountain after, 8, 9, 10 weeks, just a glow around him. It was amazing. And so once he eventually left that system of mine that I had for him in particular, he started training the regular way. And it just didn't look. When I interviewed him the day before the fight in Davenport, when it was Michael Nunn against Anthony, I just took a look at him. I go, he doesn't even. He didn't have any of the same stuff. He could, he had a glow around him normally, and I didn't see it. And then what happened was James Toney got in his grill, and this is like at the weigh-in, and pushed him and knocked Nunn over tables. That never happened. See, with me, there's no way a guy was going to get to Mike Nunn. He wouldn't have been caught off guard like he was by Toney. See, and he was caught off guard, and I go, oh, see, that's like losing a round right there.
Yeah. In his head, sure.
Yeah. But even still, regardless of that, Nunn dominated the early rounds with Toney. But the great Bill Miller.
Bill Miller.
Well, oh boy, was he good that night. It was a virtuoso performance of Bill Miller in the corner. You got to listen to it. He was just so succinct. And the tone of his voice was so serious. And he was giving Toney the exact right instructions. And Toney kept building off of that, and then breaking Nunn down to the body, and then finally started touching him, because it was not easy to hit Nunn on the chin. And then started getting him to the chin, and then by the 10th, 10th round, you could see the handwriting. And Nunn almost made it out of the 11th and the 12th. Otherwise, he was pretty far ahead on the cards. But Angelo Dundee, on the other hand, who was with Nunn at the time, he saw Nunn getting hit. He said, "Don't get sloppy, kid." And he did. So what happened was Nunn went in with a left uppercut with his right hand way down. Toney was laying in wait and came across with a left hook that he went from this side to that side of the room with it, and just everything into that hook. And how Nunn got up from that left hook, I'll never know. Because he had, those cartoons where you see the guy go down, the arms crossing the potted plant, land on him. It was like that. I go, he's not getting it. He got up at like 9, and I was like, wow. But then Toney finished him off. He never went down again, but he had him on the ropes, and the ref stopped it. It was
Joe,
pretty impressive.
Your relationship with Michael Nunn, because now when I was growing up and I saw your family develop into the sport of boxing, you guys were like pillars of the sport. I saw the Rafael Ruelas, Gabe Ruelas, Michael Nunn. Like, that was your signature guys, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember what a big story it was when Michael Nunn left, and obviously he got into some issues. He, look, he's paid his debt to society. I'm not here to relitigate all that.
Yeah.
At what point were you guys able to reconcile everything? How many years did it take?
You mean to be on talking terms?
Yeah, personally,
like
just to be friendly with each other. And
well, funny enough, I had run into Nunn, after he left. I rarely saw him. But then I ended up with a job training Murky Sosa.
Oh,
Murky Sosa.
Tough fighter.
Okay.
He can crack, too.
Oh, tough fighter.
Yes, he could. And so guess who?
He fought James Toney, too, didn't he?
Yes, he did on ESPN.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
That's where I had first seen him.
Right before his title shot against Michael Nunn.
Murky Sosa landed some hard
wait a
shots on
minute.
him.
So I worked his corner. I trained him for Michael Nunn.
Oh, wow.
In Puebla, Mexico.
You might be the champion of training opponents that you've trained, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Murky Sosa really did very well that night. Nunn didn't make weight. It was a Don King show.
Yeah.
Nunn didn't make weight. So they, normally if you can't make weight on that day, they'll give you like 2-3 hours afterwards. Well, he got a whole nother day. So they weighed him in like the following day, and he made weight. And then we fought, and it was you should take a look at that. It was some interesting things happened.
But you and Michael are good now, though, right?
Yeah, Mike, like you said, paid his debt to society, and when he came out, he called me, and I had him come on down. He was at my gym the other day.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah. No, listen. We all make mistakes.
Sure. Exactly.
And you got to be able to forgive and forget.
That's right.
It makes for a healthier lifestyle.
It does make it makes for a better peace within yourself.
Yeah.
Real quick, just a fun fact. I still have the black hat when Goossen Tudor promotions when it was the
I
black
love
eye.
those.
Yeah, I love that hat. You remember that hat?
Dang it,
With
they
the
were
black
great.
eye?
Yeah.
It was a great hat. It was 2 eyes and one of them was black.
Yeah, and those
I remember that hat.
were like flex fit
Yes,
hats. Right?
yes.
They're really
Your
fit
brother
well.
gave you that hat. Dan gave you that hat. It was
Oh, man,
great.
Dan used to have the best press luncheons at the Italian restaurant.
Nobody did.
Yeah,
Oh,
on Sepulveda, on Ventura.
Yes.
No, right.
That's right.
Spot.
Ventura,
And then Pete
exactly.
Rose would show up once in a while.
Yeah, that's right. But I just remember that hat. I wore it all the time.
I know. Believe me, I had Gary Shaw ripped it off of my head one day.
Wait, why would you rip it off your head?
Don't there's a little backstory. Yeah. No, it's all right. It's all fun and games.
Oh,
but
fun,
no, Dan was an amazing guy. He always threw the best parties.
Oh.
He was a great promoter. He really just look. We started in '81 as a company. 10 years later, Dan was vice president of Top Rank.
Yeah.
Never been in
That's
boxing
awesome.
before. That's how sharp he was.
Real quick, not to go up, but we were just talking in the last show. Fernando Vargas's boys.
Yeah.
You know they all fight.
Emiliano and
Sure,
Junior.
Emiliano,
Amato and Fernando Jr.
Right.
Like, long story short, the two brothers really got into a fight, like a fist fight. We don't know over what. We're speculating it's either a girl or somebody crossed somebody wrong. But anyway, growing up, how many fights did you get in with your own brothers? Like real hardcore fist fights?
No.
Never, huh? Never.
No, and I'll tell you why. My dad.
Oh, your dad would.
My dad was a homicide detective.
So he didn't put up with any shit.
Now, what he would do is, if you wanted to be competitive, he always had gloves there. He put those on, but no. And then if anything ever got out of hand, he would, stop that.
Okay.
He did not like brother against brother. He did not like it at all.
Yeah, no dad would really like that. Too.
Yeah, and my dad worked the last 7-8 years of it. He worked mafia. That was in the 40s and 50s against guys like the real mob and
wow.
and so my dad was kind of he was.
You didn't want to step out of line.
Yeah. No. He looked the part and.
I would just do because a lot of brothers you figure they'd get into.
No, we did we tussle about? Sure, but no, anything legitimately like putting a hurt on him, but no, no.
Good to hear.
No, we didn't do that. We did, but we played rough.
Sure. Yeah.
But we rarely, ever got into
nothing serious
scuffles. Yeah.
Joe, all I can say is this: since this is an evergreen show, I hope you guys or Ryan Garcia actually make the fight. Because quite frankly, this has been a hell of a show. We don't want to scrap it. We're going to play it regardless. But good luck. I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. And you don't want to admit it, but I think your presence adds to the intrigue of the fight.
Sure, for the storyline, it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a fun event night overall. So yeah, good luck to you, Joe, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Mario. No, thanks for having me on. Seriously, you bring out the best in me. I don't,
come on, Joe. Joe, you're good at this. You're good at this. Come on. All right, well, anyway, we just want to say, if you want to sponsor our show, send us an email at info@boxbid.io. We want to thank our special guest, Joe Goossen. On behalf of Mario Lopez and Smokin' Tim Frazier, this has been the 3 Knockdown Rule, brought to you by Hustler Casino.